So there. How about you?
What's the temperature?
I think it's gonna be a cool 74.
Ooh, it's a nice day.
Yeah.
It's
How's
fall here in
Dallas?
Texas. Overcast. It's like
Okay.
60 degrees. We had a cold front come through last night, but it's going to be 86 on Wednesday. So right back to that Texas weather.
Okay, good. You gonna get out some more lake time before you have a uh, all this cold weather come in?
No, no, I'm going to hit the mountain. I went out yesterday, struggle bus. So I didn't get to ride as long as I wanted to. So I got to get my cardio back up. It's so crazy how
Okay.
fast you lose it.
It is, and it reminds me of that story you told me of you on your bike. You don't have to tell it this time, but
Which one? The one where I
the
knocked
one where you're
myself
glad you
unconscious
weren't.
for 15 minutes?
Yeah, yeah, we can go. We can go with that one if you want to go ahead and tell that story.
Yeah. So I was out hot rodding around. I was feeling real confident one day. So Saturday morning, I hit the trails. I'm hitting all the jumps. Next thing I know, I'm waking up. People are like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." I looked at my phone. It said May the 12th. And my birthday is on May the 6th. And I'm like, "Whoa, must have really hit my head hard because I don't remember having a birthday at all."
Oh my
So
gosh, dude.
luckily, luckily, the people who stumbled across me, it was a doctor and his nurse girlfriend. So that was super convenient. So
Yeah, thank goodness.
once I kind of came to a little bit, these four guys rolled up on their bike and they're like, "Oh yeah, we saw Jonathan like 15 minutes ago. He totally said he was just fine." I don't remember any of that conversation. And yeah. So went to the hospital. They checked me out. All was good. I didn't ride for like 15 minutes or for like 15 days after that. And
Right.
I don't hot rod around like I used to. I go a little slower these days. I got a
Well, I'm
business
glad.
to
And,
build.
and
Everyone was pissed off at me that I went out and rode by myself and then I was taking my bike off jumps I probably shouldn't have been doing. So it resonated
but
with
you
me.
had a
I
helmet
calmed
on.
down a little bit. I did. Yeah, that helmet totally saved my life, like big time. Either saved my life or, I mean, it kept my livelihood the way that we wanted. It was a pretty big hit. Yeah, 15 minutes is a
I'm
long
glad.
time to be knocked unconscious.
Yeah, that is. I'm glad that you wore a helmet. I'm glad that you told me that story because I was thinking about not wearing a helmet when I went snowboarding in February. And there's one specific time that I fell so hard that I like grabbed my helmet. I was like, "Is this thing still attached?" Like, I'm so glad that I had it on. So helmets do save lives.
Yeah, they do. Anyone I see rolling around without a helmet, I'm like, what an idiot.
You're asking for something bad to happen.
You are. You are. It's not worth it.
Not worth it. Well, speaking about bad
So
things
what do we?
happening and managing risk,
Yeah, let's do it.
we'll
That's a great
segue right into
segue.
this. Yeah. So, how do I manage people and projects in the entrepreneur world? So, John, we made some notes of things we want to go over, and how you manage people and projects is one of them. It's one of our starting points. So, I'll go ahead and let you take the wheel on that. We got a few people watching, so maybe we'll get some questions too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, please fire away with some questions. Um, Number one, we have so many different devices these days and like platforms to stay in touch that open communication is absolutely key. I feel as though we're all so connected and it's so instantaneous that we can all be incredibly productive. And the people that work on our team, they each one kind of likes to use a different platform. We've got 9 people here. They don't all use different platforms, but for instance, like our dev team, we will use Skype and we just have one main chat that's been going on for like several years. But then I've got our communication
That's wild.
person who she and I will talk back and forth on iMessage. And for me, I want to keep people as busy as possible. And that just means that we're moving the business forward as quickly as possible. And it
Right.
also kind of sets the expectation and leadership that I'm always available. I'm not going to respond 2 hours later because then they take time to hit me with their questions and things like that. So we use those types of platforms to instantly engage through Skype, through iMessage, and my response rates are instantaneous almost. As long as I'm not in a meeting, I'm going to respond as quickly as possible because I want to keep business going as fast as possible. So what kind of
I
tools
got a
do you guys
question
use
for
there,
you.
Bobby? Yeah, fire away.
Well, yeah. So I'll lead in with the whole Google Docs and Google Sheets. This is kind of
Yeah.
new to me, so I appreciate you introducing this stuff to me. I actually use this with someone else I work with now, and it's streamlining is stuff so important. I love how you say the response rate is back and forth. It's really quick. Do you leave your iMessage read receipts on? Because that seems like super personal for a lot of people.
I don't.
You don't?
Sometimes I get
Okay.
hit with questions that take a little bit more thought, and I want to be able to respond in a way that is clear, concise. And what I don't want to happen is for anyone that works with us and works for me thinks that I'm ignoring them because that's absolutely not
Right.
the case. I don't want to bring any kind of doubt into people's minds because then it doubts them wanting to engage me with a question or a suggestion and things of that nature, if that makes sense. So, no, I don't turn my
Yep.
read receipts on. Um, I don't do that on a personal level. I don't do that in a business level because I think it just kind of sends the wrong message to folks.
Well, now you got
What do
me
you think?
questioning whether I should have it on. Uh, so for me, I'll leave them on because most of the people, I say most of the people who know me know that I will get back to them. But again, I guess a lot of the times I preface that like, hey, if you see that I read it, just know that I read it. I'll get back to you when I can. But I'm not
Yeah.
ignoring you. So I always do have to preface that just so people understand. Because in
Yeah.
technology, this technology world, it's definitely if you don't get a message back from especially someone you're dating or someone in your family within 4 or 5 hours, like where were you at, questions start coming up. And same thing for business. I feel
Hmm.
like if you're expected to respond to somebody, kind of gets that expectation down. So yeah, I use
Yeah.
read
And
receipts,
for
but
me,
just so people know I see it.
yeah, for me, and maybe this is the case for a lot of people out, if I read something, then I may not come back to it, not be intentionally, but I use that little dot on
Right.
the iMessage or the unread message in my emails, like my to-do list. And so at the end of the
Mm.
day or first thing in the morning, I'll go through that because to me, that just means people are waiting on things for me. Some are obviously more
Oh yeah.
timely than others. You get a message, you can see it on your screen and you can read, 95% of it if it's not a really long message. But I also kind of use it as a tool that reminds me of the things that I need to do. So if I read it, that little dot goes away. And it's just kind of those little things like for me that makes all the
Yeah.
difference.
No, that
So
does make
Google
sense. So for
Sheets
me,
is
I use
great
a.
though.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go
We
ahead.
still
I
got to
was
get
going to talk about Google Sheets.
this. Yeah, we will. Hold on. This the time discrepancy. I still got to fix this. The Vimeo. Where are you at on this? I sent them an email last week. Um,
Don't they
but
have
the
millions and billions of dollars? Can't they fix that?
you think they would take care of
Priorities.
a huge podcaster like me, that I'll be at the front of the line with all my questions. You would think so,
Reaching millions.
but
Yeah.
uh, the dots, I actually replace those with flags. So on my emails anyway. I'm not sure if
Oh,
you've organized your emails with different colors, but I think on Apple Mac there's 10 different colors, and so I have 6 of them used already. So can't do much more than 4 things, but yeah, categorizing those emails is super important tool that I use.
so Google Sheets. I'm glad you use that. I love that tool because I can see you on there now just typing things. I can see what cell
Yeah,
you're on, and it's just a great
right,
collaboration tool. It's basically like an Excel spreadsheet on steroids for folks. And you can send
right.
any kind of funny message that you want to.
Yeah.
But it works for everyone. You can make it where people can edit things or they can just view it. So for us, with a lot of the sports teams that we work with, we will craft sales campaigns. We'll send them this link, and then they can collaborate on it with us. Versus
Hmm.
sending an Excel spreadsheet, having to save it, and then try to remember like, oh, what changed?
What?
What did it used to
Yeah. What
be?
version we on?
Things of that nature. Yeah, what version was that? What time did you save? Because I sent you one spreadsheet, and then 5 minutes later I sent you the exact same spreadsheet, but I changed a couple words around. Yeah, it can all just be too much. And then there's another tool that we use on our team. It really is just kind of strictly for our development team, where it's called Trello. And
That
basically,
sounds
it's like a
familiar.
virtual whiteboard. And you can move things along this virtual board, and you create cards like a sticky note. And the sticky note just can go as long as you want. So you can
Hmm.
add people to certain cards so they get notified when it gets updated. You can add different types of checklists to that card. So, for instance, we were doing some stuff with our push notifications last night, me and our QA engineer, and there were a couple of things that we noted weren't perfect. So, we created a card, we labeled it push notifications, we tagged our designer and our server guy, and then we created a checklist like, you know, this this functionality, and we just kind of listed it out there. And then
Hmm.
once our server guy, he goes through and he checks the list, then he moves it to our quality assurance column, and it just kind of goes to this flow. So we've got like a beginning, a middle, and an end for these kind of digital sticky cards, and we just move them through our process. And that's it's a good place because everybody can collaborate on there. They can write their thoughts, add screenshots, all different types of things. So I think
Is this
Trello
new?
is
Trello?
great for. No, no, it's been around for a while. We've been using it since day one, but it's just a great collaboration platform for large projects and complex projects.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out. I like how you have it organized almost like the Ford motor plant. You know, the first Ford motor plant we had everything like an assembly line. It sounds like that's exactly what you got.
Yeah, it kind of sort of is. I mean, in my opinion, for any business, the most valuable piece of real estate, everyone
Mm-hmm.
can collaborate,
For
they can
sure.
put their thoughts, you can get new ideas down, and this is just a digital version of a whiteboard.
Okay. Cool. Well, speaking of things and collaborating with software, one of the ideas that I definitely want to hit on today was business relationships. So for me, coming out of the military, it was a new idea to not a new idea, but it was a new landscape. You know, in the military, you were forced to work with another unit, and like you had to get along. And in the civilian world, it's not like that. You know, you have to genuinely have those relationships with your clients and other business partners. And so one of the things that you quoted on here is always being top of mind. Do you mind breaking that into your own words? Or I guess elaborate on it.
Yeah, for sure. So, I've been in sales pretty much my entire life. Um, and there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I could never be a salesperson. And I call BS on that. That's not true. Anyone can be a salesperson as long as you have two incredibly important kind of standards. Number one is you're always honest. You're not trying to
Right.
BS someone who you're trying to sell a product, because people can see right through that. But the
Right.
second thing is work ethic. And sales comes down to a numbers game. They're the greatest salesperson out there, like selling a. We all heard the selling a ketchup popsicle to a lady in white gloves. Like that just doesn't happen, right? It
Yeah.
might, but
Right. Ice Cube to
you're not.
Eskimo.
You're not. Yeah, you're not hitting 1,000%. So if you're honest with people and they can trust you, they're more inclined to have a real relationship with you where they actually transact dollars. But getting people to that point, it does take trust, and it takes hard work and doing the right thing. And when it comes down to a numbers game, What's a typical close rate for salespeople? Well, it all varies by industry.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So it comes
yeah,
down
by
to
industry and by person.
working and by person. So it all comes down to working hard and staying top of mind with people as well. And as we were talking about open lines of communication, there's so many different ways out there to be able to stay top of mind. Back in the 40s or the 50s, there were a lot of door-to-door salesmen out there, or a lot of people think sales is all about cold calling. And those are
Oh, right.
ways to stay top of mind and open the door. But now with so many things hitting people left and right because of this thing called a cell phone, there's a ton of new ways to stay top of mind as well. So for me, uh, it I like to use email, just because I feel like I can type faster and I can be clear and concise. But for our business, though, too, I mean, we use all types of interactions to build our brand and top of mind with professional sports teams. As it relates to having a one-on-one interaction with the decision maker, yes, I'm
Mhm.
going to send emails because they can respond to that at ease. They
Right.
can read through them when and wherever they're at. And it's not as intrusive as receiving a phone call from someone once or twice a week. Because
Can
I
we
feel
pause there
like
for a second?
being on a, yeah, of course.
So I've kind of noticed this trend for myself, but phone calls are almost need to be pre-planned for business.
Yes.
Maybe 10 years
Yeah.
ago, you'd call somebody out of the blue. But what's been your experience with phone calls and just planning a phone call versus randomly calling people now?
Even with planning a phone call, yes. Um, that works really well for me. So for our teams who are existing teams or teams who are new and they don't maybe know as much about Dash, when I set a planned phone call, I will be the one that sends the calendar invite, as
Mhm.
well as I will set two reminder notifications too. I send one 10 minutes before the phone call, and then I have another one that is set 45 to 60 minutes prior to the phone call as well. That way
Hmm.
they know it's coming. I don't
Right.
ever send an email the day before that says, "Hey, Bobby, I know you and I are talking at 1 o'clock. What are the things that you want to cover? I'm really excited to talk to you." I don't send that stuff.
Right.
Once the appointment's set, I send the calendar note 10 minutes before, 45 minutes before, and I would say 98% of people will be on that phone call. Now,
Yeah.
for like the cold call aspect, it's tough to get people. That's due to a couple different reasons, but I think number one is people are really busy, so you may be calling at a time that they're very busy, and two,
Right.
people don't want to be they don't want to be on the back foot of a phone call. So you jump on a cold call and you're trying to pitch your business in 90 seconds. That just is not successful. You might be able to set an
Right.
appointment, but you don't want to put people on the back foot. You want them to be just as comfortable in that environment as you are while you're trying to share the business. And I never go in my phone calls, I use like a very consultative sales approach where I'm really just sharing ideas and best practices and success stories from their peers, maybe in their league or in their sport, of how they're driving revenue and finding leads and engaging their fans with our platform Dash.
Okay. How long are your appointments normally
I would
with
say
your
30
phone
to
calls?
45 minutes. Yeah, I would
Okay.
say, oh, before the phone call?
No, no, for the phone
We
call. I'm sorry.
usually
Yeah, you're
don't.
right. So
Oh, yeah,
30 to
I would
45
say
minutes.
30 to 45 minutes. There are some teams who will ask a lot of really good questions, and question asking is like super huge in sports or just in any
Right.
sales really. But once you're asking the questions, you can get a better feel of what's going on in their front office. Then you can if you know your product well, can tailor the conversation of what value you're trying to bring to them and practical examples based on those good questions. And those
Hmm.
questions, they always have to be open-ended questions. I mean, you can get yes or no questions
Yeah, that's like
answered,
asking
but it's the
toddlers.
open-ended,
It's like
yeah,
asking toddlers
yeah, it's
the
the
stupid
open-ended
questions like,
questions.
did you have fun today? Like, yeah, I had fun. I was at Disney World. Of course, I had fun. Like, you don't ask people yes or no
What
questions during sales calls.
what kind of questions do you ask people in your business?
Another point that I wanted to bring up was time of day that you normally call people for sales call. And so for me, since I'm in finance, I find that calling anybody after or having meetings after 5 o'clock is normally a no go. Generally,
Mhm.
phone call is going to go much better in the morning, maybe at the maximum 3 o'clock, because by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, like everyone's already tapped out of either their work or they have their kids by then, and there's already so much going on in their day that sitting down and talking about finances for the future is like, I got to get through tonight, bro. I can't talk about anything else.
Yeah.
So, um, the questions I generally ask are, uh, do you have a plan for when you're gone? Whether it be when you're 85 or 100, like, do you actually have a plan? And most people, 99% of people say, no, I never actually really thought about that. And I said, you haven't thought about how long you'd live? Like, well, no, I haven't. So I was like, so you don't have a plan to live for very long. You're just planning for tomorrow. And one of the quotes from, I think, Rockefeller or somebody else like that, saying how wealthy people or people who keep money within the family plan for 2 generations, and middle class people generally plan for the next vacation. And it's a totally
Hmm.
different mindset. And so if you want to actually have the ability to take vacations and feel secure about them, you have to actually plan beyond that.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's very much a plan, plan to save, plan to spend mentality. But you're right.
Yeah,
People who
exactly.
build generational wealth, you know, from the time that a child is born, they start thinking about, well, what is their what are their offspring? What kind of livelihood do we want to create for them?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Building
wild.
legacy.
And building a legacy. Exactly.
So how do
Um,
you how do you bring, let's say you're sitting down with someone new, and or you've got someone who is a client of yours already, how do you bring value to them every single time? Because you set a meeting with someone and you spend 30 to 45 minutes with them, but if the meeting sucks, well, what's the chance that they want to meet with you again? Right?
right.
And especially maybe they'll
Hopefully,
take it
slim to
again.
none.
Yeah. If the second meeting sucks, then you're never going to get a third. So how do you bring
Right.
value to people when you're with them?
That's something I learned from a mentor of mine right when I got out of the army. And it was in the first 5 minutes of the conversation, what expectations are of this meeting. What do you want to ensure happens in this meeting? So for some clients are like, well, we just want to make sure to get a budget down, or some clients, I just want to make sure we figure out our 401k or how we're going to distribute our wealth once we get out of retirement. Or some people, it's simple as saving for college. Like, we want to figure out the options for college this meeting. And so taking the time at the beginning of a meeting to ask the client or a business collaboration partner, what do you want to expect from this meeting, or what are your expectations, and what would bring the greatest value? And to me, that's the easiest question that makes the meeting worthwhile, because you can't really argue if you bring the value of that proposition.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Have you ever tried using the mentality with folks of, and it's more of a mentality on them where people want what they can't have. And so bringing I by bringing ideas to the table of, well, this middle class family, they were making this amount of money, which is very similar to you, and they did X, Y, and Z with their business, and it created a value of this. But then this family over
Hmm.
here, which is pretty much identical to you, did X, Y, and Z. And so they were able to retire at age 45 and live a dream that most people aren't able to do. Do you ever
That's
share different types of ideas or like success stories? Because we use that
yeah.
a
So
lot in our
like
business.
yeah, it's a perfect sales pitch to me. It's not even pitch. It's a examination. That's what I call it. It's person A makes choices, X Y Z, and person B makes choices X Y Z, same amount of money, and this is how the two different people separate. This is where person A, this is where they end up, and person B is where they end up. Which person do you want to be? Well,
Right.
whenever you break down the analogy, like, well, I want to be person B or person A, whatever it is you're trying to show them. Like, okay, then that's actually for you, even though you thought that it wasn't.
Yeah. Or they took their 401k and they turned it into, a revenue stream that pays out the rest of their life. Or they took that
Right.
401k and they put it into that when they die passes money on for the next several generations. And it
Well,
makes
if we're gonna
total
get technical
sense.
here, I'll give you a great example, John. This is my favorite one.
Fire away.
All right, so you have a 15-year mortgage and a 30-year mortgage. If you listen to Dave Ramsey and some other people who are uh, advocating for no debt, excuse me, if you make the choice to pay off your mortgage in 15 years, by putting extra $1,000 a year, or sorry, $1,000 a month towards it, or however much money that is, instead of actually investing that money over 30 years, that actually the more money you're going to lose if you were just to invest it. Because if you're paying interest at 3% but making 5 or 6%, I would take $1 every day and put it towards that 5 or 6% versus paying off debt I didn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
Adds
Yeah.
up to being about $1 million in someone's life of generational wealth that's lost. So I'll make a video of that pretty
Just
soon
between those
and show that.
15 years.
Yeah, over someone's lifetime, it ends up being about a $400,000 difference in that 30-year period, and then when you expand that over another 30 years or 50 years in someone's lifetime, that $400,000 becomes 1.1, $1.2 million of lost wealth.
Right. So I can't remember what podcast or like YouTube video I was reading a couple years ago. And it was basically on the premise of like what separates a good salesperson versus someone who's a great salesperson. And it hit
Hmm.
on two important things, which I shared earlier, which is trust and work ethic. But it
Right.
also came down to being able to produce different types of content that, and maybe that content is like marketing pieces where
Mm-hmm.
you're sharing the same idea, but you might be saying it a different way. Or you've got different
Right.
types of success stories in Dash, but you're presenting it in different ways. So we use here at Dash like videos or like a PDF, or maybe I'll reposition an example on a phone call with a team about how they got to 100 different, fan engagement numbers. For your
Mm-hmm.
business, how often are you sending out different types of, let's just call it like
Mm-hmm.
marketing material, and what channels are you using to do that? Let's say that you have one client who's a good client. He's already been working with you maybe for the last year or two. They're successful. They make plenty of money and they have an emphasis on wanting to retire at the age of 60 and then travel the world and never have to
Right.
worry about their money running out. How often are you sharing ideas and success stories, maybe from your other clients, with that individual?
Hmm. That's a really good point. I haven't really thought that much about it. I would say having my Facebook be the place where people leave me referrals or recommendations is generally the way I have people go and look at my performance when I meet somebody. I'm like, hey, go to my Facebook and check out my the bobby.money recommendations and referrals, and kind of gives you a feel for how I've made other people feel about their money. Because I think that, to me, the most value I can bring to somebody is seeing them read it from somebody else rather than me saying everybody else loves me, man. Everyone's saying it. For me, having those recommendations and referrals actually there for them to go read is probably more valuable than I realize.
Yeah, no, I agree. We kind of do the same thing with our business too. Um, we call it a virtual town hall. And so basically, we'll invite all our teams and prospect teams to a webinar session. But
Talking about
I'll
the
ask a
LinkedIn,
couple of our more,
on LinkedIn.
yeah, we do promote it on LinkedIn for sure. But the
Okay.
town hall is basically like a closed webinar that our teams and prospective teams have access to. But essentially, I just ask our more successful teams to speak about what they're doing to generate revenue, sell products, and engage fans so that people
Hmm.
who maybe they already are Dash clients or they're new can hear, not from me, but from other people, what's
Right.
working in their front offices. And I've said the same thing over and over and over to teams, but hearing it from someone who's in their shoes and actually doing it and saying it's actually pretty easy to do. And we hit this
Right.
number and this number and this number goes so much farther than hearing it from someone who's trying to sell their own product. So I'm
Right,
right
because
there
everyone
with
thinks their own
you.
stuff is awesome. Yeah.
Totally. And I'm the first person to admit we've got the best fan engagement platform out there in sports.
I'll
But
second
until
it.
150 other teams go out and say it, without me having to even ask them to do it, is a completely different story. But it
Hmm.
helps validate and solidify, and it helps teams feel more comfortable with what they're doing with our tool to go out and engage fans and turn it into that like weekly tool that they use to help build their own business with Dash.
So I sat in one of those town halls of yours a while back, and
Mhm.
I got to give you a quick compliment. I didn't realize. I thought all those people you knew, like, I thought they were your best friends, like for how long we've been friends. I was very impressed with how well you knew everybody that was there. I was like, golly, John's company's taking off. Then I slowly realized, like, oh, these are people who work with John's company. Okay, this is people who work with Dash. And I think it goes back to the business relationships that you build. You're actually bringing people together, sharing ideas that is beneficial for your client, but also for other people who may not be your clients. Is that kind of the idea behind what you're doing there?
Yeah, for sure. And like for me too, I wouldn't say like I'm a solo entrepreneur. Like I've got a team here. I interact with
Mm-hmm.
them, but I interact with them in digital environments. I mean, we all live here in Plano and we see each other from time to time, but we're always engaging with each other on Skype or iMessage or on our Trello board. And when it comes to my teams that work with Dash, I feel the same way. I mean, like they're partners in our business. Like we don't make money until they make money. But at the same
Right.
time, like we don't just talk about business. Like we talk about what's going on in their life. Do they ride mountain bikes too? Would they be willing to
Do
ride
they
with
wear a
me
helmet?
on the trails? Yeah. Did you wear, Murray, did you wear your helmet on Saturday when you rode those 60 miles? And so
Hey,
we
since
just
you're
have
there in
fun with
Plano,
it
we can
too.
talk about the traffic.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So, I mean, it's more than a business relationship with the people and the teams that work with Dash. Like a lot of us have friendship relationships. It's not like we're hugging it out every day and high-fiving each other because they're all across the country, but we do have casual conversations about their family and what they're doing this weekend and what who their favorite sports team is and what they've got going on outside of the
Oh,
office. And for
yeah.
me, I
Speaking of
like
that,
that because I'm not really working, with a bunch of close people around me every single day. It's all kind of in a digital format.
Okay. Don't forget to send me your address after this, by the way. It's gonna be on the
Okay.
YouTube. I'm gonna share it on this video too, so everyone can see it. But no, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Send me your
let's
address
see.
after this. I have something to send you. The biggest prank ever. That would be awful. No. Um.
Am I allowed
Sorry.
to
So I think
ask
that's a
what it
good
is?
outro. No, you're not. You're not allowed. But next time you come on the podcast, you have to show everybody what I sent you, and it won't be on fire. I promise. It won't be a bag on fire.
Okay, better not be snakes in a box.
Snakes in a box. No, those are on a plane. I hear. Let's. I guess we can go ahead and outro this because I think that was great. We have a solid 45 minutes, and ending on
Did we get
the
any
fact that having
questions?
those business. No, we didn't get any questions. We had 10 people looks like come in on Facebook, and I haven't checked
Cool.
YouTube yet. But no questions this time. I'm sure that your thoroughness on how you approach business is probably why there's not any questions yet.
Just answered everyone's questions.
Yeah, had it.
All the ones that they
But
didn't
I do
think
appreciate
of.
you coming on. Yeah, exactly. I do appreciate you coming on the podcast, though. And we'll do this again. And my takeaways from this are be honest, be personable, and make sure to engage and be on top of mind with your clients and the people you collaborate. And I'll give you the last words, John.
Just thanks for having me again. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and looking forward to talking again. They should put it in the chat or put it in the post, and we'll see if we can answer it next time.
All right, sounds good. I concur with that, and maybe we'll get some polls up on my Facebook page.
Let's do it. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. Cool. All right.